Now, looking at harvesting as you go, today we're joined by NanBop Farm Director Jason Abraham to explain how this works exactly.
That's right. Jason, thanks for being here. Good to have you.
Morning, guys.
Tell us about farming as you go and harvesting as we go. How does this work?
So when you do this cut and come again is what the industry calls it. Really what you're doing is you're extending your life of every plant you can harvest from. Herbs work really well for this. Another good example would be like an outdoor product would be zucchinis and squash, where you're harvesting at the peak of freshness, at the peak of the exact time you want to harvest, but you're not killing the entire plant. Mm-hmm. Same with leafy greens. So when we make our spring mix, we grow all of our leafy greens indoors, downstairs in our basement. And what we do is, you can see here, is we go in and we'll cut the leaves that are soft and tender and ready to go. You can see I'm really fast at this too.
Oh yes, clear. Not sped up at all.
Not at all.
This is his real go speed.
So basically what you're trying to do, we harvest what we would consider a baby lettuce or a baby leaf. So we're going to cut them younger so that they're more tender. What you do is you come in, you cut out the larger leaves on the outside, you leave the heart of the plant still intact, and 6 to 8 to 9 days later, you're gonna have leaves that are ready to harvest again. This works with herbs, as you can see here with some parsley. It works with thyme, it works with sage, it works with rosemary. You know, it extends the ability for you to have fresh herbs, fresh lettuce. You know, you can grow these things all year round and actually have stuff at your disposal every single week, because you keep that plant alive and you just continually harvest at an even pace to where you don't kill the plant stays going. You can see there, those are beet greens, and actually we're not even growing those beet greens for the beet itself. We're just growing it for the greens so that we can put into a spring mix with arugula, spinach. We've got some Japanese greens as well, and you can see there, that's a tote full of the greens that we've harvested, and we get them all together and toss them and mix them around. And the key to the keeping the greens fresh and crisp is, when you harvest, go ahead and fill your sink with ice water. Throw your leafy lettuce into that ice water and leave it for about a half an hour.
And just the straight leafy greens, you don't put them in anything before putting them in, submerging them in the water.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
You just dump them straight into the water. If you have a colander that you want to submerge so it's easier for you to lift out of the water, that helps for sure.
Smart.
But basically what you do is you plump up, if you will, and bring crispness back to the leaf, because when you harvest those leaves, you know, they're very soft and tender, they're young. In order to get that crispness and that crunch of a bite, you really want to take care of it. So after you do your cold water bath, you then put it into a nice peroxide solution for about a minute to get the cleaning action of that peroxide, and make sure you don't have anything contaminating on your leaves. Then rinse that off, throw it into our industrial sized giant salad spinner, and away you go. But as you can see, you know, you're not taking all the leaves, you're not taking an entire plant, you're leaving the living portion of the center of that plant there, and just taking those harvestable leaves to give yourself an opportunity, like I say, to keep your plants alive longer. You get more from them. You know, with lettuces, for example, you can always grow a full head of romaine lettuce, cut it, and have a full head. But if you can go ahead and harvest that as you come and go, and just take the leaves you want, you're going to be able to keep that alive. Now, the cool thing about some of those lettuces, if you do make that full cut, you're going to get some auxiliary smaller secondary heads that'll come in, but they're not going to be anywhere near as big as that main head that you cut. So what we try to do is, the leaves that we're going to harvest, just the leaves, we grow those indoors, and then the lettuces and the things that we want to harvest the entire plant, we grow those outdoors. So your iceberg, correct. Your iceberg lettuces, your cabbage heads, your Napa cabbages, you know, kale and things like that, where you still can, with kale, you can still do your cut and come again. However, if you also want to harvest the whole thing when you get a nice big head of kale on there, you can do that as well. So, you know, it really just, it is open to almost every plant or every vegetable you can think of, minus a few things. Celery you can do it with. Celery is difficult to grow and get abundant into a head like you see in the grocery store. So instead of trying to grow that, why don't you come in and harvest some ribs of that celery on the outside as they get big enough, and go from there. So it really gives you an opportunity to get more of a harvest than you thought you would get from your garden. And at the end of the day, as much as the gardening is about, you know, getting your hands in the dirt and things that make you feel good and make you happy, at the same time, you're also producing food. So if you can extend what you get, and if you start things from seeds are fairly inexpensive. You don't have to go to the store and buy vegetable starts. which we are going to be growing vegetable starts this year to get into the public's hands as well. Started plotting everything out this week and getting excited to get going. As you guys mentioned, you got some warm weather coming, so it's about time for things to start waking up and processes to start taking hold out on the farm. And I'm excited and ready to get going this year for sure.
It's an exciting time.
Certainly growing indoors helps this time of year, right?
It does. It also breaks the monotony of going outside and feeding the chickens in the freezing cold weather every day. So
doubly smart.
Yeah, and for example, you saw all that parsley that I was harvesting. What I do with that parsley yesterday, as a matter of fact, is I threw it into our chickens that are indoors that don't have access to greens right now. And parsley is their favorite because the parsley gets into them and helps blood flow. And anytime you can help blood flow in a chicken, you help extend the life, extend the egg laying process and timing of which a chicken will lay eggs for you, just to keep general health up. And it's difficult to get things like that. So if you grow stuff in a basement or in your garage or in a spare room, you give yourself an opportunity to utilize what you're harvesting for multiple things, not just for human consumption or giving to your neighbors.
Gotcha. Now, is there any advice you'd offer, Jason, if someone were to pick up a bag of our spring mix, how can they continue with that longevity in their fridge? So
we do have an easy way to do that. In the restaurant industry, you'll use a clear plastic tote that has a closable lid. Basically, what you're trying to do is maintain a temperature and keep your humidity level, steady. And it's usually in the 70% range for lettuces in a fridge, where they'll hold their shape and they don't get wilty. Another trick you can do is when you put them in your refrigerator, you can take them out of the bag, put them in a bowl, and just lightly put some paper towel over the top of it. And that paper towel will help absorb excess moisture, but also kind of create a barrier over the top if you don't have something that you can seal it with. Personally, for me, I prefer the method of an open container with the paper towel on top at home. Here at the farm, in the walk-in, I have a much bigger tote, as you saw, and we cover that with paper towel as well. And that just kind of keeps it crispy. You'll get anywhere from about 6 to 10 days, depending on what the leafy green is.
Gotcha.
Obviously, your arugulas and your spinach will last longer, but your leafy greens, like your red and green leaf or your oak leaf lettuces, those are going to tendency to wilt a little bit quicker. Radicchio, for example, will wilt a little bit quicker. So in that 5-day range, if you buy it and use it as fast as you can, you're obviously the best of the day you purchase to make a nice big salad that night and really enjoy the freshness quality. But you can definitely extend it. Use your crisper drawer if you don't have anything else. That definitely will help because you do have the ability to control that humidity at that point. So really it just comes down to paying attention and seeing how they look. And okay, my method that I tried worked great, I'm going to keep doing that. Or that didn't work so well in my refrigerator, let's try something different. So it really is an individual basis, but you have a few options to really maintain that freshness and longevity for sure.
Gotcha.
That's great.
Well, Jason, really appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us today. We're going to make sure all the links you need, it's all going to be available on 9and10news.com after the show.